Yo, so during my teenage years, I did a lot of things that I ended up regretting, and if I could go back and change it, I definitely would. Those things that I did like a long time ago changed my life completely. I'm gonna be talking about some things that I just regret doing and try to steer you guys clear of doing these things because these things are for lame people. These things will mess your life up. The first thing I really want to talk about, and probably the thing that I regret the most about my teenage years, is falling victim to peer pressure. I remember one time, I think I was in seventh grade or whatever, I was hanging out with like a group of friends, and I was not really like the top dog of the group. Like, you know how every group of friends has like the leader of the group, but then they have like the other kids who just stand around. They're like, I was one of those kids that was just like, just like following the leaders of the group. And, every weekend or whatever, the leaders of the group would go out, ride around, and do crazy stuff. Like, I remember one time, this is crazy, but my friends, they weren't really my friends, but like I was hanging out with them. They had just turned 16, so they got their license before me, right? I was still 15, so I couldn't drive. They turned 16, and one of my friends got their license, but their parents got them like a really busted car, and he was kind of mad. He was like, Mom, I want like a nice Honda or a nice Toyota, but they got him an old ass car, right? So what he did was the first night he got his license, on his birthday, he took the car out, got a bunch of us, and we were riding around, and he was running into people's mailboxes. Like, he was literally crashing into people's mailboxes for fun. And I think he was doing it because he was mad that his parents got him a crappy car. So he made the car even worse. The next day, like, his parents realized that the car had like dents all over it. And there was like a whole thing in my town about people hitting mailboxes. It wasn't me, but it was people I was with. At the time, I was in the car, like laughing with all my friends and just trying to fit in or whatever. But the more I think about it, the more I realize like I was getting peer pressured into thinking it was cool. If I woke up and my mailbox was completely gone, I would be kind of mad. I'm not gonna lie. If I walked outside and I just saw my mailbox taken, I'd be like, all right. Because here's the thing, bro. You got to replace a damn mailbox, and you don't know if there was hella mail in your mailbox. Like, what if you ordered like a Nintendo Switch or like a Steam Deck or something? It was sitting in your mailbox. Boom, somebody just ran it over. Now you don't have your thing, bro. That's not even the worst thing that peer pressure can do, though. I've seen a lot of kids hang out with the wrong group of friends and then get into drugs or get into drinking on the weekends, or just like they were a cool kid and then they started hanging out with these friends and then those friends rubbed off on him and he became a lame. Like, it's pretty prevalent nowadays. A lot of kids do what their friends do and they get peer pressured into doing some things that they don't really want to do, but they think their friends won't like them anymore if they don't do it, and they want to be just like their friends because they want to fit in, so they do it instead, and then boom, their life sucks. The funniest thing about peer pressure is the fact that in the moment, you're like, like doing what my friends do, this can't be that bad, right? And you strive to be just like your friends. You strive to be cool like your friends, so you do everything your friends are doing. Turns out in a couple of years, they're not going to be your friends anymore. This is such a big thing. The people you're friends with right now, you'll probably only be friends with like one of them in 5 years. Whenever you graduate high school, you'll probably only have one of the same friends you do now. All the other people will drift away. It just happens. People told me that during my high school years. I didn't believe them. I was like, nah, I got my core group of friends. Turns out I only hang out with like one or two of them to this day. It happens to all of us. So don't get pressured by your friends to do things that you don't like. Don't feel like you have to do things that your friends are doing. It's honestly pretty cool if you tell them no. Like, if they're like, oh, bro, like, come do this with us. If you say like, nah, I don't want to, they'll respect you more. Like, in the moment, they might be like, oh, he's lame. But in their heads, they'll be like,
oh, I respect him more.
And you'll respect yourself more because you know what's right and what's wrong. So if somebody's telling you to go ride around and hit mailboxes, I'm not gonna lie, it was, fun in the moment, but it's messed up. Don't do it. I think one of the next things that a lot of people, and especially teenagers, deal with, and something that I kind of dealt with, was I didn't realize like how important finances were. This sounds so boring. I know all the little kids are clicking off this video right now. But if you listen to this, you'll learn something. If you're too young to know what finances are, it's basically all about money. When I was a teenager, I didn't manage my money very well. Now, here's the thing. Most teenagers, whenever you turn 16, you start getting a job and you go work for $8 an hour, and you work 40 hours a week pretty much, and you're slaving at the McDonald's, and you come back with $200 a month. That's kind of what happens to most teenagers, but for me, it was a little different because I started my YouTube channel when I was 15 years old. I started getting paid from YouTube at like 16. It wasn't a lot of money by far. It wasn't a lot of money, but the thing is, I was making more money than people my age. I saw a bunch of people saying like, oh, I got like this $400 pair of shoes. This is cool. But in my mind, I was thinking, dude, you only made $400 this month? I must be rich. So I was trying to be kind of cool. Like, I ended up buying some nice cars when I was 16 because I just got my license and cars were like the coolest thing. So I bought a few nice cars. I bought, some expensive things like I bought a watch and I bought other things. And I wasn't really trying to be cool, but I was spending my money on things that make you look cool. Now, looking back, I regret it because I don't have the same cars that I bought at 16. I ended up selling those cars. I lost money on those, so I look like a dummy. I look stupid now. I was looking cool in my fresh cars until I sold them for less than they were worth, and then I lost money, so now I look stupid, right? That's the thing, man. A lot of people try to look cool, and they go broke trying to look so cool. Like I mentioned before, one of my friends, he wasn't really my friend, but his parents gave him that crappy car. He wanted to look cool. He wanted to have a nice new car to drive around in. But his parents were right. Like, you don't need a super nice car at 16 years old. One, you're not a good driver. You're probably going to crash your first freaking car. Most people end up doing that. And two, who do you have to impress? You're going to school. Like, nobody cares. A lot of teenagers also end up spending a lot of money on food once they start getting money. They also, whenever the new school year comes around, they spend a lot of money on clothes. They get like a whole wardrobe for a couple $1,000s. And that's pretty insane because you're still growing. In high school, you're still growing. I have all of my clothes from high school. They're too small for me. I spent hella money in high school on my clothes and they're all too small. The point here is that whenever you're a teenager, it's so easy to neglect your finances because this is the first time you actually had your own money. Before, you used to use your parents' money, so you didn't know what you wanted to spend it on. You might have felt bad for spending all your parents' money, so you didn't do it. But now that you're 16, 17 years old and you're turning into like a real teenager, you're starting to make your own money. You feel like you have all the money in the world, but you really don't, man. Like, so please, the thing I'm trying to say here is save your money. Don't try to look cool for other people. I failed doing that, and a lot of people fail doing that. They get nice cars and then they think they look cool, but you're not cool, bro. This next thing I kind of regret doing, and a lot of people regret doing, especially now, you spend too much damn time on social media. Now, I know you're on YouTube right now watching this video, so it sounds kind of stupid for me to say, stop spending so much time on social media. What I mean by that is, whenever you're like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, this is when you get your newest phones and stuff like that, and your parents actually trust you with phones, and you make a Snapchat, and you make an Instagram, you make a TikTok. I know about all that stuff. Dude, I cannot explain to you how good social media is for some people, but how bad it is for other people. Social media is such a weird space to where like you can follow so many different people around the world and see like their highlights. That's the thing. Social media is all about people's highlights. People don't ever post on social media talking about, oh, like my dog died and like I lost my job and I hate my life. They don't do that. They post whenever they're on vacation. They post whenever they're feeling happy. They post on prom. They post on homecoming. They do all that stuff, but they don't post whenever they're going through it. You know what I mean? So whenever you're scrolling through like Instagram and stuff like that, and you're so addicted to social media at these young ages, you start to realize that, oh, everybody's got this awesome life because they only post the highlights. So then you compare them with your life. A lot of people say comparison is the thief of joy. And what that means is if you compare yourself to other people constantly, or you compare what you have to other people and what they have, you're going to lose out on joy. Because if you get this nice, 2015 BMW that you think is really cool, and then you go on Instagram and you see your favorite like rapper with a 2024 BMW that's 10 times as better as yours, you're going to be like, oh, so mine isn't that good. But just 5 minutes ago before you saw that post, you thought yours was awesome. Comparison and just comparing things is so bad for you. And social media just ramps that up, especially when you're at a young age. You can get too, drawn into comparing yourself with other people's lives. Everybody in your school is posting on Instagram about how they went to this place for vacation and this place for vacation. Then you're gonna be like, oh, why don't I go on vacation? Am I not good enough? Stuff like that. Don't try to get, drawn into all the social media stuff. It's all just like highlights and just the best stuff. Nobody shows how bad their life really is. So don't fall into the social media trap. Try to stay away. This is probably one of the bigger regrets that most people have, and one of the bigger regrets I have. People don't, like, especially when they're teenagers, teenagers don't realize that they need to build skills for themselves. Now, I was never a big school guy. I say this in like every video, but school teaches you valuable skills that you will need when you grow up. Even if you ignore everything that you learn in class, going to school still teaches you how to have relationships. It teaches you how to act in a social setting with a bunch of people. It teaches you how to speak to people in a social settings. It teaches you how to sit in a spot for a couple of hours and listen and try to focus. It teaches you a bunch of things. And I feel like kids don't like, I feel like kids and teenagers ignore that. Also, I feel like they ignore trying to learn new skills. And I don't blame you. Like, whenever you go to school for 6.5 hours and then you come home, you're normally pretty tired. You don't want to spend a couple more hours learning about how I can become an entrepreneur or how I can learn how to change tires. Like, you don't want to learn skills right when you get out of school because you're already tired from the whole school day. But people don't spend enough time learning skills that will benefit them in the real world. People just hold their hand to the school and have the school hold their hand back. And, oh, I'm in school, so I don't have to do anything else. Oh, I'm learning about this stuff in school. I'm learning about this stuff in school. But nobody actually gets like non-book smarts in their head. I feel like when people are in school, they're like, oh, I'm learning plenty. Like, oh, I don't need to learn anymore. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. But all you're learning is the book smart stuff. All you're learning about is the Pythagorean theorem and what John F. Kennedy did on his 3rd birthday. Like, that's what you're learning about in school most of the time. Now, I'm not going to lie, you do learn a lot of important things in school, but by the time you're like in high school, they kind of just teach you more advanced stuff that normally you don't use unless you want to become an accountant. Then you need this stuff that they talk about, or you want to become a math teacher, then maybe you'll need that knowledge. But most of the stuff they teach you in high school is extra fluff on top of the other fluff. They don't teach you about real world things. And that's a problem with the education system. But you need to learn more about real world things. You need to put yourself in situations where you can learn. And, you know, watching videos on YouTube, I'm not going to lie, seems kind of boring, but you can learn like from YouTube. I have learned a lot since I've graduated. I think if I compare myself now to myself when I graduated high school, I feel like I'm a lot more smarter. That was so hilarious. I said I'm a lot more smarter. That's incorrect grammar. That is so ironic. I should have said I'm smarter than I was, but I said I'm a lot more smarter. Okay, I'm so stupid. Never mind. I think what I'm trying to say here is try to keep on learning, but don't focus so hard on school. Get your schoolwork done. Just, you know, push it out of the way. It's all fluff most of the time. But then learn real world skills. Learn how to do this. Learn how to do that. Learn how to talk to people. Learn, you know, emotions, how emotions work. Learn body language. Learn a lot of things that will assist you your whole life. You're not going to remember what y equals mx plus b even is whenever you're 50, but you're going to remember body language and speaking tactics and all these other things that are lifelong skills if you learn them. You know what I mean? So don't ever stop learning, all right? If you take this video to heart and you actually like try your hardest to not do all these things I was talking about, your life is going to be amazing. You're going to be way ahead of every single teenager and every single person in your group or in your class, because most of them are just social media heads who sit on TikTok and scroll all day. So if you do these things, or make sure you don't do the bad things and do the good things that I talked about in this video, you're going to be amazing. Peace.